Hello, welcome to Planet 40k. Today I thought we'd discuss the Necron fortification that was released alongside the Codex, which is the Convergence of Dominion. Fortifications in general are quite a rare sight currently, so I'm not expecting great things here, but the model still warrants a review as it's part of our beloved Necron Codex. Guys, if you've yet to subscribe, jump on board by clicking the subscribe button below. At the time of filming, we're just shy of 3,000 subs. We may have surpassed it by the time this video gets released, and with your help we can push to a new milestone. Okay, so this fortification, it's going to cost you 1 command point unless your warlord is from the same faction, which it should be, so ignore that, it's basically a free detachment. It's going to cost you 6 power level or 120 points, and it comes as 3 towering models. So looking at the datasheet, starting with the keywords firstly, it's got the dynasty keyword, although it can't actually take any benefits from being a dynasty because it is a fortification. As for the other keywords, it's a vehicle and it's also a building. So it's worth noting that because it's got the vehicle keyword, it's not just going to interact with our codex, but for enemy codexes too, as some weapons get buffed against vehicles such as Chain Fist. But here's something that will shock you. Remember how Lookout Sir works? Yep, these things provide a Lookout Sir for your characters because they're a vehicle. Also, being a building has some negative synergy with chapters such as Crimson Fist with their Legacy of Dawn super doctrine. Just a few things to be aware of there. Okay, moving into the stat line of the models. They've only got a few certain stats here because they're fortifications. So they've got a ballistic skill of 3+, strength 6, toughness 8, wounds 10 and a 3+ save. So it is quite a tough cookie with toughness 8 and 10 wounds, and there's 3 of these things, that's 30 wounds in total. Now the stats do degrade each model once it gets below 5 wounds. And it's going to lose a point in ballistic skill and lose another point when it drops to 2 wounds or less. So it's only that one stat that degrades there. As for abilities, there's a fair amount to get through. Let's get the basic stuff out the way. Living metal to regain a lost wound. Quite nice on a unit that degrades. Doing everything you can to remain in the higher brackets. Command protocols, which I'll talk about more in a moment because it relates to a different ability. It's got the Convergence of Dominion, which is not the most original name in their GW. So when the unit is first set up on the battlefield, its models do not have to be set up in unit coherency. Instead, they can be set up within 12 inches of each other. From that point onwards, each model was treated as a separate unit. So you can span these out in a line if you wish, covering 36 inches of the board, plus the range of the auras, or you could triangulate all 3 into a key location to ensure buffs happen. Unfortunately, all 3 need to deploy within your own deployment zone and not anywhere on the battlefield, and also cannot be placed within 3 inches of a terrain feature as stated in the core rulebook FAQs. They also can't be placed into strategic reserves. The next ability is Dominion Protocols, which is an aura. While a friendly dynasty core unit is within 6 inches of the model, add 2 to their leadership characteristics of their unit. So it's a bit so-so as we're already leadership 10, but if you do lose a whole bunch of warriors in one turn, it may help as fleeing warriors cannot roll for reanimation. Next you've got Dynastic Command Node. While a command protocol is active for the army, friendly units with the command protocol's ability that are within 6 inches of this model benefit from the selective directives from the active command protocol. So this is why I didn't talk about it too much in the command protocol's ability earlier. So these towers effectively act like characters to buff the units within 6 inches of the current command protocols. Now I personally don't put too much thought into command protocols, I kind of just wing it within the game to what I select, as they aren't that overpowering. If you do plan too hard, it'll probably not even work, as you need to pre-select the order of the protocols before the game actually begins, so the timing for me is more of a mental burden than a buff. Others use command protocols a lot more effectively than I do, and hats off to them. The last ability is Translocation Protocols. So while there are any Star Stellar units from the army on the battlefield, Cryptek units within your army can attempt the following action. So they can activate Translocation Protocols at the end of the movement phase if they're within 3 inches of the Star Stellar unit. And once that action is completed, one of these towers can be removed from the battlefield, and in the reinforcement step of the next movement phase, the unit can be set up back on the battlefield anywhere that is more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So effectively you can move these off the board and deep strike them on in the next turn. So it has uses in the sense that you're moving your command protocol's aura to a new location that isn't in your deployment zone. It's also, as mentioned, a potential Lookout Sir safe area up the field. Also, it can simply be a bit of inconvenience to your opponent as the unit is not a piece of terrain, so units need to still remain 1 inch away from it. So blocking up an already congested area perhaps may be an ideal way of doing it. Then furthermore, as far as I'm aware, buildings can score objective points, but they can't perform actions. You'll have to let me know if that's correct. I've been looking through the book, I can't quite find it. I mean, I've only ever really fielded a building once in my entire life, so it's not something I do often. So if this was the case, then repositioning the tower onto an objective could be a really good choice. And then there's also no restriction on the 3 inches away from terrain rule, which was FAQ'd because this is now not deployment. So that's the abilities. There's no explode ability sadly, so no Curse of the Fair on stratagem for auto exploding towers. There's also no quantum shielding either, which is a bit of a buzzkill. Next we have the weaponry. So each model is equipped with a transdimensional abductor. It's a 12-inch range, assault D3, strength 4, minus 3 AP, and the damage is 3. So it's a short range weapon, and D3 attacks can be a little bit lackluster. Only strength 4 to add to that. Now the minus 3 AP and 3 damage does open my eyes a little bit, so these things could be shifting Terminator models off the board. Now if you get lucky with your shots and roll the big 3 on the amount of hits you roll, you'll hit with 2 on average, and then it's a 50-50 on whether you can actually wound a Terminator. Then you need to get through the in-1 save, which is normally a 5+, possibly a 4+ with a shield, and then it's removed. So it all depends on the shots really. Now I base these tables below on a single tower using the weapon. So when you've only got 1 shot, you've got a 20% chance of removing a Terminator off the board. When it's 2 shots, it's a 40%, and 3 shots is just up to the 70%. It's still only 70% of removing 1 single Terminator there, of course. You can also optify these at Space Marines, put them on a 6+ armor save, but as you can see from both of these tables here, the damage is minimal. However, you do have 3 of these. The thing is, you can't buff the weapon due to the fact that it can't belong in a dynasty, as it's a fort, which is stated on page 246 of the core rulebook, so what you see is what you get. Okay, moving away from the below par shooting capabilities, there is a stratagem that can be used for the fort. However, you're never going to use it, but I thought I'd put it on here just for you to see, which is Stellar Alignment Protocol. Done in your command phase on a Necron vehicle that has a wounds characteristic of 10 or more, and then until the start of the next command phase, that model is considered to have its full wounds remaining for the purposes of determining the characteristic for the profile. So basically, if you're bracketed down, you can remain on your top bracket with Ballistic Skill 3. That's all that's going to do. It's not worth a command point. So I'm kind of at the stage now where I need to summarise this unit, as the synergy here is non-existent except for the obvious one, which is the Cryptek moving one of the towers. But even that sucks, it takes an entire turn to do so. There's no dynasty buffs, the weapons kind of suck, so it's all based around those command protocols, which I kind of believe GW didn't really think them through. I think they thought there'd be a version of combat doctrines or the Drukhari combat drugs, but it's way below par against those type of faction rules, purely because you can't predict the future with this game, so working out the protocols pre-game isn't great. It should have been a thing that you select the protocol each battle round, then select the directive on your own turn perhaps. So as for the good, the models are tanky, they give out command protocols along with that 2+ leadership. Then also they've got the Lookout Sir ability, which could be quite a nice surprise for your opponent when they think they've cornered your character. As for the bad, 120 points that you're not going to get back, the weapons are trash, and command protocols for me are very meh, although they do work for other players. And we're Necrons, we don't really need that 2+ leadership, we already have the best leadership value in the game. So let's get this one over with, it's quite depressing. This may actually be one of the worst units in the Codex. Now I recently did a 10 worst units video, and I put this in the honourable mentions purely as I've not actually looked at it or fielded it, but I think this is actually the worst we have. So this is going to be getting a Planet 40k rating of 0.5 out of 5. The model actually does look really cool, but it's such a waste. Guys, drop a like on your exits and remember to sub if you are new. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.